Check, check, check. Test 1, 2. Test 1, 2.
Always wanted to pick chairs, but I think that. Yeah, I've never done it.
So my name's Kevin Gunther. I am a landscape architect and planner with Reagan Smith. Michael Burrell is also with his here tonight. He's a senior project manager with Reagan Smith. And we've been very pleased to be able to work with the city of McMinnville at doing the Park and Recreation Master Plan. So tonight is really more about hearing what you have to say, more than telling you a bunch of ideas or conclusions. The first step of this process is hearing all of you, making sure we're checking in with stakeholders, doing an inventory and analysis. This is going to be a process that'll end probably sometime in August or so. So there's going to be another community engagement meeting, and there'll be plenty of opportunities to continue to give input. So don't feel like tonight is the end. Tonight is really the beginning of continuing to hear from you. I do want to encourage you that there's going to be a survey online that you can take. So don't feel like just because you showed up tonight, you can't take that survey. And I want you to also send that survey to all your friends. There's a link on the city's website on the Park and Recreation page. You'll see an announcement for the meeting tonight. And at the very bottom of that, there's a little one line that says, please take the survey, and it's got a link to it. So let everybody know about that and send it out to all your friends and get as many people to give input from that opportunity as well as the meetings that we'll have. So, you know, what we do is we look at the Parks and Recreation from several different lenses, and that includes community engagement like this. We will measure things as it relates to, there's a national organization called National Recreation and Parks Association, and we kind of do some comparisons to that. We compare maybe how some communities of the same size as McMinnville, what types of things they would typically have. But probably the most important thing of all is just hearing from the community and hearing what you want. And that includes both what you have now that you like this wonderful facility we're in, but also what would you like to see in the future? This is going to go out 10 to 15 years. So, you know, this isn't necessarily just talking about what we have here today, but what would you like to see happen in the future in McMinnville? So as far as the process goes, there's two things I really want you to do tonight. I want you to sign in on that sheet, if you would. You don't have to put your email unless you want us to send out information to you. But also, we're going to give you some stickers. And everybody in this room, before you leave, I want you to take those stickers and put them on these boards. And I'll explain how that's going to work. But don't leave without doing that, because this really helps us. This really helps us kind of start to get a snapshot of what's important. The other thing that this master plan does is it helps you as a city go after grant money and get opportunities to partner with different organizations, with the state organizations. So that's another reason we want your stickers on the board and your names on the input sheets, because that helps the city when they go to ask for funding. They can say, yes, we've had this process, and here's the people that have kind of participated in that process. Any questions about that, about the process and what we're trying to get tonight? Okay, great. So the screen, I know, is impossible to read. Forgive me, I'm not expecting you to get all that information by reading it or seeing it on that screen. It's really more just a backdrop for me to talk off, but I really want you to get up and close to these boards, because then you will be able to see things more carefully. And I also want you to engage with Michael and I so that we can hear you more one-on-one. So after I'm done talking, this is where we really want most of your time, is over here with these boards talking to us, making sure we're hearing you very directly. So one of the things we do is we create a map. We create a map of all the parks you have, and we also include the school system in that, because a lot of your schools have athletic facilities or playgrounds that might be recreational components to the community. And we also kind of pan out larger and look at the whole county and think about things like Rock Island State Park, because even though the city is not managing those facilities, they're still very relevant to some of your recreational experiences. So on this map, as you get up a little closer, you'll see colors that we put on there. Those colors are what we call a heat map. The brighter the colors, when they're orange and red, that shows where most of the people in the community are living and working and playing. What we mean by that is that those are active places of commerce or residential communities that have a little higher density, or where you have some active recreation facilities now. And then we put on top of that your existing parks, and we find out where there might be some gaps. So one of the things you'll see when you go up to that map is that the city has done a very good job. You have some very high caliber facilities, and you have a good mix of things going on in the city, which is what you want. You've got some things like in downtown area, like the farmers market, like the Park Theater, that are kind of cultural and social opportunities. You've got things on the river that are connecting you to some outdoor things like kayaking and hiking and just walking on the greenway, natural environment that we call more passive recreation. But then you've got pretty good programs for softball, soccer, the skate park, the tennis courts, that kind of thing. And all that being said, you got a pretty good balance of facilities. So that was one of the things we noticed right off the bat. Your city's done a good job of setting the framework for parks and recreation. That doesn't mean you want to stop here. You want to keep going with those things. You want to keep expanding on them. The other thing that we found right off the bat is, you've got the downtown area covered pretty well, and some of the areas kind of north and west of town. If you think about like Pistol Park, where the soccer area is, that's kind of outside the center of town. It's kind of covering some of the west side of the city. But there's some areas like to the north, the south, and the southeast where maybe you could have more neighborhood parks or maybe some more community events that occur. So that was one of the things that came out of the map. The other thing that we saw was there's a lot of really nice facilities throughout the city, but some of the parks are obviously starting to age. They need some investment. They need some TLC. And there's space to expand for more opportunities to happen in those parks. It's like they're not maximized out as far as potential. So that's good, because you can start to layer more things going on in those parks, and you can and take advantage of that without necessarily having to buy a whole lot more property. So any questions about kind of this map? And I want you to get up and look at it closely, but like how we derive that map and what it's showing you. It's showing you all your existing parks, where they're at in relation to kind of some of your, what we call the heat areas where people live, work, and play. And then we're also showing some of the things that are going on in the county. Right. So the question is this, you'll see these dashed lines, and these are just areas. We dash this line based on national standards for park and recreation, saying a community park typically covers this amount of area. So this dashed line you'll see is showing that most of your parks are where your activity occurs, is where most people live, work, and play, which makes sense. But there's no dashes that kind of extend out to the edges of the city. Did that answer your question? No? Okay. All right. So when we go to put stickers on these boards, there's kind of two stations set up. These blue boards where Michael is standing are just a whole bunch of different activities that can occur, both programs and facilities that can occur in your park and recreation within the city. And so what I want you to do is put a sticker. You're going to have 3 stickers. Don't put them all in the same box. Spread them out. But your first sticker, which is going to be green, is going to be saying, this is the most important thing to me. If I really like this activity, we have it now or we don't have it, and I'd like to see it in the future. Your second sticker, which is blue, is saying this is kind of my second priority. And your third sticker, which is yellow, is saying that this is my third priority. Now, you may want to go there and put stickers on every single activity, right? And say, hey, I'd love to see all this happening in the city. And I get that. But what we want you to do is think about it this way. Think of that sticker like dollars. Like if I had money to spend, where would I really want to spend it? And what that forces you to do is think about what's the most important. It's not saying any one of these things are not important. Does that make sense? But if I have to choose where my dollars go, kind of this sticker is telling me this is where I would spend it. The other station over here has the maps that I've described, but it also has what we call opportunities and challenges. And I'm going to talk about what those are in a minute. These are the kind of the bigger picture ideas, and they're not recommendations or conclusions that are saying this is how it has to be. But what it is saying that if you think about big ideas, which ideas are the most important? So this is almost like this is where I would spend the money, but these are the ideas that kind of speak most to me, that I connect with the most. So we want stickers on that board, the same thing. I'm going to give you 3 stickers, but 1 sticker on each box. What's the first priority, second priority, and third priority? So before we launch into that, I'm going to walk through these opportunities and challenges and explain them a little bit. But any questions about stickers? See, I told you we were going to have fun tonight. This is like going back to, yes, ma'am. It does make sense. Right. So right now we don't have it available online. There will come a point in the process where we will post things on the Park and Rec page that you can actually pull up and look online. Now the survey is online, and it has a series of questions that are all kind of relevant to what we're showing here. So that is live and active and online, but at some point, we'll make those maps available to you online. Yes. Okay, great. Right. So as you're leaving, there's a flyer back there where you can just scan the QR code and take the survey that way, or hand it out to as many people you want. Get them to take the survey. All right. So that's kind of the priority process. The other thing is, if you haven't, yes, sir.
I got a question. Is the fairground part of that park or anything like that?
So the question was, are the county fairgrounds part of the city park system? And the answer is no. That's kind of a separate, that's run through the county, and it's not part of the park management that the city would be involved in. Yes, but it is a partnership. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, that's good. Partnership part of it.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
All right, so what I'm going to do is walk through these opportunities and challenges. And I know you can't see the board from here, but I'm going to explain them a little bit. So when you get up here, you can have a sense of what it is we're asking you to give us input on. I'm sorry, go ahead. Yeah, good idea. Let's, I'll tell you what, let's pull this up here and hold it up a little closer to all of you. So this is just basically ideas that have kind of surfaced, and we know that they're going to be important. And even though we say opportunities and challenges, every challenge is an opportunity, right? And every opportunity kind of creates a challenge. So it's not like they're good or bad. We just kind of framed it that way to give us a framework of discussion. So on the opportunity side, one of the item number 1, and there's no meaning to these numbers like this is the most important or least. It's just a way that we kind of get it on the board for you. So item 1 is connecting everything, right? Because you have a lot of facilities, but sometimes the best way to increase the viability and increase the value of those facilities is to connect them. So that would be through greenways, like the greenway you have on the river. That would be through bikeways. It would be sidewalks, or even, say there's like an app that you can get on and digitally connect. So connecting the parks is kind of idea 1. Idea 2 is the idea that your river is a really valuable resource. And what if you really started doing something, even like a whitewater park? I know in some communities, the Tennessee Department of conservation is actually remove some dams in the rivers. And that actually could be a scenario where you create like a whitewater park or something that's really active and really dynamic in the water. But the whole idea is that take that river and really kind of enhance it even more for recreation. Idea number 3 is some of the cultural things you have, like the park theater and the downtown square. And well, I'm even going to say like the witness tree, these cultural things that you have could be something that you enhance with your recreational experiences. Number 4 is the whole idea of the fact that you've got a strong spirit in your community that all really kind of supports recreation. How do you take that and get even more leverage from your volunteers, maybe some volunteer training, some collaboration with volunteers to make that even better? Number 5 is the idea that McMinnville really sits in the Cumberland Plateau, an area that draws people from all over the world. Maybe there's a way to tap into that to more tourism, getting people here to hike, bike, and paddle, and actually having them spend money and kind of, stay for more than just 1 or 2 experiences. And number 6 is expanding those existing programs. And we talked about that, like some of your parks, maybe you could layer more activities that you have going on. And you could actually, especially some of the parks that have big open space or old facilities that could be upgraded, is there a way to get more out of those parks? So those are the 6 opportunities that we're highlighting. If there's anything we missed, let us know. Go ahead and tell us an idea that we might not have thought of. Any questions about those 6 ideas? Anything that's not? And you can ask us one-on-one when you get up here too. All right, so the challenges that we list are the challenge that every community faces, which is making sure you got park and recreation experiences for your whole community. Every age, every person of different physical abilities, different social backgrounds. You want to make sure that parks and recreation is something that everybody in your community has access to in some form or fashion. Second idea is that what we had talked about, some of these facilities, as nice as they are, they've started to age, they've started to become irrelevant, maybe in the context of some of the equipment isn't really on par with what people are needing these days. And is there a way we can update aging facilities? Number 3 is that geographic that I talked about, that maybe there's some neighborhoods that don't have a park in them. And you can drive and get in your car and drive to a facility like this, but what if we had some smaller parks that were spread out a little bit more? Number 4 is the idea of what we call wayfinding and branding. That's when you come to the city or you live in the city, there's signage and there's communication going on constantly as you travel through the city, which says, this is where our community park is. This is where the access is to the river. Here's downtown. Here's where the walking trail is. Here's, where you start on your trailhead. So there's a way to do that that really helps people understand how to get around the park system. Number 5 is looking for partnerships and funding opportunities. Obviously, the city has done a really good job of investing capital into parks and recreation, but how can you get even more leverage with funding partners like TDOT for your greenways, like TDEC for your trailheads, like Department of Health for more playgrounds, or maybe even some private ventures, companies in town that want to contribute in some way. And then the last one, number 6, is, how do you get the bigger picture, the view of where we showed that whole countywide area where maybe you're working in conjunction with the state parks and with places like Rock Island. I know I had heard Justin explain that, he actually at one point had a program set up where people could go and actually visit the state park and meet with the park ranger. And, that was something that was collaborated between the city and the state park. Would you like to see more of that kind of thing? So those are the 6 challenges that we've highlighted. And hopefully this kind of gets you thinking. The whole idea is to get outside your box. Don't be afraid to put your ideas down. Don't be afraid to tell us what do you think are the greatest opportunities for McMinnville parks moving into the future? What do you like best about what you have? What don't you like about what you have? And what would you like to see happen in the future? So enough of me talking. Like I said, I want to kind of get into smaller groups over here. Before I do that, is there anything, Michael, that you want to add, or anything, Nolan or Justin or Michael, that you want to add as far as before we kind of break into a smaller group? And thank you all for coming tonight. And make sure, I know this is a nice warm spring day during spring break, but like I said, we're going to have another meeting. So tell everybody that you know, next time we have a meeting, that encourage them to come. Tell them how much fun it is. Yes. Yes.
People tend to stay in their comfort zone and they don't come out and participate, and therefore that's what they want, because their ideas were never.
Right. We can't implement your great idea if we haven't heard it, right? Right.
So I think it's important that, I mean, I found out about this, and just kind of by chance, I was talking to Michael and it happened. Papers and the article.
Mhm.
But I think it's really important, really
Right. Right.
because those areas of the communities that are in this factory,
Mhm.
often those people don't enjoy or take advantage of these areas. So I think it's
Sure.
important that this message really spreads, not just to those.
Right. And I think, like I said, what we're going to want to do, this is a good start, but we're going to want to continue to hear how we can get the message out even more. And this is kind of just really kind of the unveiling, if you will. But yeah, please tell everybody about it. If you think of some ways that we can communicate it even more, we're very open to that.
Well, I'm getting back to my next part.
Okay.
So certainly, current. And come to this, and, Master Garden is very long.
Right.
So we have little figures out there.
Yes.
And, but everything goes.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Katie Camises, and I'm in the Community Development Department. But I was going to say, Dale, I think one thing, if you know of a group, we'll have the survey open for, I think, a month, maybe even longer. If you know of a group who isn't here tonight, but you think they should be, I'm happy to come for the next month and talk to them for the next couple of weeks. Michael potentially could come and talk to them to not necessarily replicate what you all are doing here, but to talk about the survey, get people up to speed. If you think that will be helpful to your point, Dale, spreading the word. I feel like it's also a barrier. People may not know what an open house is, and they don't know, but if it's more helpful for us to come to them and sit down at a table with them and talk about the survey, talk about what it's gathering. And if you think that will encourage people to take that leap of giving their thoughts, and then I'm sure our team can figure out how to do it.
I just reinforce that too. I mean, it's Master Gardener groups, your church recreation league, it's, downtown business district, all those groups are the network that we want to provide this information through and encourage you to have them participate and get the word out amongst their membership too. And that survey reflects a lot of the information we'll discuss tonight, but it even goes a deeper dive on some things. So it'll ask, well, if you don't utilize the parks, why don't you? And what would encourage you to do that more? What are we missing? So it's a really good tool, for the people that don't have the time, or maybe they have kids, or they have a physical ability issue that doesn't allow them to come out to a meeting like this. So we'll use that tool heavily and count on it as well. So.
Okay, well, we'll be here as long as you need us to. Let's talk a little bit more face to face and get you close to the boards and Everybody's going to leave after they put their stickers on. Any questions before we start doing that? All right, thank you.
Get up.